The sirens carved through dusk on Kestrel Trace, washing 119 in red-blue heat. Karen and Blix pointed at me like I stole sunlight. "Officers, seize that animal." Her son Gunnar sneered. "Hand me the golden retriever." Barley trembled, golden fur shaking against my leg. Windows cracked open along bramble oaks, whispers sliding like snakes through hedges. "Dangerous breed," Karen shrilled, eyes measuring my skin, not my dog. The youngest officer's thumb kissed his taser. I kept Barley at heel and my hands slow, every breath a counted fence from childhood. "Registered, chipped, licensed," I said, holding papers. Gunnar yanked the leash. Barley yelped. Scrapes bloodied Gunnar's knuckles, fresh from smashing my mailbox last night. Sergeant Roscoe Gentry frowned at a wobbling HOA emergency order. Karen thrust forward, toner-streaked lies pretending to be law. I felt 45 years of swallowing weather rise. The porch camera blinked green, patient as truth. "Back up," I warned Gunnar. Karen smirked like victory had a calendar. Neighbors filmed. Barley pressed into my shin, heartbeat knocking tiny drumbeats, asking whether calm could still hold. I opened my wallet. Gold flashed in cruiser light. "Cassius Wynne," I said. "Special Agent, FBI." The young officer straightened. Gentry's gaze clicked serious. Karen's smile folded like cheap lawn furniture in wind. Gunnar's eyes narrowed, old hate hiding inside a new grin. "Badge won't change what you are," Gunnar spat. His words carried something sour and practiced. My voice stayed level, the way training teaches storms to pass through. "It changes what I do next," I answered. Barley's tail flicked once, unsure whether courage or retreat fit best. Mrs. Valdez shouted from 127 Wren Court, finger-stabbing air. "Knife!" A glint flickered in Gunnar's palm. The youngest officer radioed, voice cracking protocol. "Drop it," Gentry ordered, steady as cinder block. Karen wailed. "He's scared." Fear arrived loud, late, and wearing borrowed reasons. I widened my stance, lowered heat, opened angles. "Gunnar, toss it on the grass and walk away tonight," I said. Pride wrestled consequence inside his jaw. He flicked the blade. It clinked against stone. Relief exhaled early, like a door opening too soon. Down the street, a matte sedan ghosted to a stop, windows blacked. Doors unlocked with soft clicks that sounded like plans. Barley stiffened, nose pointing. Karen's eyes brightened, expecting reinforcements. Gentry's hand hovered near cuffs. The sedan door opened, and a boot touched pavement. The boot belonged to someone I knew too well. Zadie, my sister, stepping out fast, face fierce, phone already recording. "Keep rolling," she said, voice low. Karen blinked, thrown off script. Then Gunnar lunged for the leash again, and the night grabbed its next breath. Zadie slid between Gunnar and Barley like a door that wouldn't budge. "Cameras live," she warned. Gentry moved, calm and quick. The youngest officer scooped the knife. The sedan's engine ticked. "We'll finish here," Gentry said. My chest eased, but memory yanked me backward, hard. A week earlier, the HOA newsletter landed on my stoop smelling like toner and control. Harmony Initiative, Pet Compliance. Chair. Karen Ann Blix. Barley fetched it, tail scribbling joy. Zadie skimmed the paragraphs, eyebrow climbing. "She's coming for your joy," she murmured, half-joke, dead-on warning. The first note arrived pastel and poisonous. "Your dog's appearance distresses neighbors." Not barking. Not biting. Appearance. I filed it under maybe later fire. Barley snored under the table, trusting everything. Trust is brave. Sometimes it's blind. Zadie exhaled long, like she'd seen this reel before. By the mail kiosk on Quincy Row, Gunnar leaned in sunglasses under clouds. "Mom says that dog isn't compliant," he said. "Compliant to what?" I asked. "To this neighborhood," he answered, lighter flicking nothing. Barley sniffed lantana, unimpressed. Zadie shouted from the porch, "Cornbread cooling." At work, 6th floor of the Halcyon Federal Building tasted like paper and coffee. I briefed an identity theft case, then trained with community liaisons on de-escalation. "You rehearse calm so calm remembers you," Instructor DeMille said. I wrote it down like I'd someday need it. That night, The trail cam caught a scrub cap sliding along my fence. Barley rumbled low. We installed floodlights, moved his bed to my room, and checked locks twice. Security looks boring until it doesn't. Zadie placed a screwdriver on the counter, blade pointing toward tomorrow. Karen started dusk patrols, clipboard lifted like scripture. Violation, she said, photographing Barley peeing on my grass. Against what gravity? I asked. Her smile thinned to thread. At 11, our mailbox cracked under a rock. Photo. Timestamp. Folder. Evidence is a lantern when fog loves you. A new note appeared. Handwriting leaning mean, nice dog. Give him to me before something happens. Gunner's tone swaggered. Zadie's eyes went winter. Neighbors first or the law first? She asked. Both, I answered, dialing the liaison line. My thumb hovered, then pressed. The die rolled. That night, Mr. Orrin Kleist fell on his steps at 207 Aldrich Bend. We sprinted. Gunner stood nearby, hands buried, help missing. Barley braced against my calf. Listening. Paramedics arrived quick. Kleist gasped thanks. Gunner stared at Barley like property, not partner. Something ugly settled in. The next morning, a fake dog of concern citation appeared. And signed, codeless. I copied actual bylaws at the clubhouse. Highlighter bright. No authority to seize pets. No emergency clause. Facts stacked. When I stepped outside, Karen whispered to Sergeant Gentry in the lot. He nodded once. Her whispering didn't scare me. The silence from the rest of the board did. By sunset, my doorbell camera caught Gunner testing the gate. Tomorrow, he breathed to himself. He didn't know my camera kept better promises. I sent the clip to myself. Then the sirens came. The emergency call brought cruisers and acting. Karen cried on cue, waving a counterfeit seizure order, stapled crooked. Gunner clutched his sleeve like teeth had visited. The youngest officer frowned. Gentry tested my new latch guard, glanced at the lens, and catalogued details without theater. Multiple complaints, Karen bragged, chin high. From 127 Wren Court, Mrs. Valdez shook her head. None from me. Mr. Kleist shuffled forward, cane ticking. That dog steadied me, he said. Karen flapped harder. Paper fluttered. Fear fluttered too. Lies always need wind someone else provides. I kept my voice simple. Barley's licensed. Here are the records. Here's last night's video showing Gunner at my gate. I handed phone and copies. Gentry watched the clip twice. Face quiet. Gunner watched the pavement, not the truth unspooling inches from his shoes. Time to choose the tool that ends spirals. I opened my wallet. Cassius Wynn. Special Agent, FBI. Silence clicked. Karen's smile folded. The young officer straightened like the room saluted. Gunner's mouth curled. Fed boy thinks paperwork saves him, he muttered. Barley's tail stilled. Choosing stillness. Then the blade flashed. Mrs. Valdez shouted. The youngest officer bagged evidence. Gentry spoke calm. Drop it. The knife clinked stone. Relief stepped forward with curious eyes. Press charges. Gentry asked. Quiet. Zadie squeezed my arm. Our signal. Justice, not fire. Document everything first, I said. Cruisers rolled. Karen hissed to Asphalt, not to me. This isn't over. Asphalt kept its counsel. Neighbors drifted back indoors. Cameras still hot. Zadie stayed beside me, her breath steady, a metronome in chaos. Barley leaned into my leg like an anchor disguised as fur. At dawn, flyers littered my lawn like blizzards nobody asked for. Protect children from vicious animals, featuring Barley mid-yawn, captioned, snarling. I gathered them with gloves, then brewed coffee dark enough to hold a spine. An email pinged. Emergency HOA meeting at 44 Aldrich Bend. Inside the clubhouse, bleach and blame hugged the walls. Karen took center table with 2 board ornaments pretending to be spines. Residents filled chairs, Aurora Mirth from the library, Soren Nell the delivery driver, Mrs. Valdez, Kleist, and people who preferred facts over noise. Karen's slideshow stretched pictures until they lied. Aggression, she narrated, showing Barley chasing a ball. Non-compliance, pointing at my fence latch. Harassment, labeling my documented email. I raised our binder. Chronology of incidents, I said. Dates. Stills. Texts. Bylaws highlighted. The room turned from theater to court. I set my bureau ID on the table and tapped speakerphone. "SSC Maria Cates," came the voice, crisp. "Special Agent Wynne is in good standing." Karen's shoulders slumped, eyes hunting new weapons. Before she found one, a courier entered with an envelope labeled Legal Notice. Bramble Oaks HOA. Treasurer Tallis Reeves slit the envelope, face draining. "Petition from Kestrel Legal Aid Consortium," he read. "Harassment, selective enforcement, false reporting. Demand suspension of President Blix. Implement transparent complaint process." A low cheer rippled. Karen's laugh sounded like glass refusing to learn flexibility. "Vote," Tallis said. They moved motions: suspend Karen pending review, appoint Tallis interim, adopt complaint forms, require body cam review for HOA police calls. Motion carried. Karen stood, trembling inside brittle pride. "You'll regret this," she hissed, brushing my shoulder like punishment. The door didn't follow her. Outside, heat pressed down. Barley waited under the live oak, tongue lolling. A child hugged his neck. Relief tasted like water after running too far. My phone buzzed from an unknown number. A photo of my back door, time-stamped 10 minutes earlier. The caption: "Mine." We drove home slow, eyes wide. The alarm chirped wrong. A lemon cleaner ghost floated through rooms that never met lemon. Zadie scanned surfaces. "They wiped prints," she whispered. Barley traced a line from window latch to toy bin, which sat repacked too neat to be real. Safe. Untouched. Files. Intact. Copies of tags. Missing. Someone thought microchips lived on paper. I pulled camera thumbnails. A cap silhouette slid along the fence, timestamp matching the text. I forwarded stills to Gentry and Tallis with a simple subject: "Unlawful entry indicators. Kestrel trace." Gentry arrived with gloves and patience. "No forced entry," he noted. "Old realtor key spot?" I nodded, sick. The last owner hid one under the gas meter. Karen's handyman, Lyle. Serviced meters. Threads tugged threads. Evidence piles were building a bridge toward Daylight's courtroom. Gentry filed the report. "We'll patrol tonight," he promised. Zadie brewed coffee strong enough to hold a frightened house. "Cornered people get creative," she said. Barley leaned into her knees, eyes saying he'd fight bigger wolves if I asked. I asked him to nap instead. At 10 p.m., a matte figure drifted near the clubhouse rear door at 44 Aldrich Bend. Earlier, I'd placed a legal motion camera facing that lock. The figure bumped a key, slid inside, and photographed a clipboard thick with pet registry sheets. His hood slid back. Gunnar. He left fast, not knowing the camera drank everything. Minutes later, my inbox flashed. "Uploads complete." I forwarded the clip to Gentry and Tallis. Subject: "Data breach. Pet records." The night finally tilted our way. Then an engine idled outside my house. Headlights off, patience on. The idling car rolled slow past 119, pausing like a question. I turned the porch light on. It pulled away, nervous. Morning arrived with Tallis's message: "Emergency board session regarding breach." At noon, we met again in bleach air. Karen found the door politely locked. Tallis played the footage. Gunnar, hood down, clipboard up, pages photographed with jittery urgency. Gasps dotted the room. "We suspend all pet enforcement actions," Tallis declared, throat strong. Aurora Mirth drafted a breach notice on the spot. Fingers flying. "Residents must know," she said. "Transparency heals." Gentry knocked by 3 with a warrant. "Breaking and entering, attempted theft of records, prior knife incident, trespass attempt," he recited. At 11 Quail Spur Nook, Gunnar tried to bolt. The step caught his ankle. Cuffs clicked. Karen's voice cracked from the porch, throwing words without landing places. "You did this," she screamed at me. Neighbors stood outside now, not hiding behind drapes. I lifted the binder. "No," I said. "Your choices did." Her mouth trembled. Pride tried to rescue it. Pride rarely has working breaks. Gentry guided Gunnar into the cruiser with smallest dignity. That night, Bramble Oaks exhaled. Barley sprawled across my boots, warm weight reminding me the world still knows softness. Zadie read Talus's draft policies: complaint tracking, anti-retaliation clause, body cam coordination, defined penalties for false reports. It's a skeleton with muscle, she said. It can stand. My phone buzzed, another unknown number. Bravado still alive. Take the dog to the clubhouse tomorrow, the text said. Or more doors open. I screenshotted, forwarded, and saved. Fear tried to stage a comeback. Evidence shoved it off stage. I scratched Barley's neck until everyone's breathing matched. Morning brought a cake from Karen, frosting stiff, apology stiffer. Truce? She asked, eyes red. Not cake, I said gently. We need safety. She swallowed, words fighting. You made me feel unsafe, she whispered. Your presence changes the block. I nodded. It changes what lies can do. We talked on the porch. I offered community hours for Gunnar with Mr. Kleist, plus a de-escalation course, a formal apology read aloud, and restitution for damages. Accountability isn't exile, I said. She blinked, surprised by mercy trimmed with steel. She lingered, considering a different road. Gentry called, arraignment set at 1313 Fennel Pike. Courtroom B, Judge Elodie Quince. Bring documentation, he said. Documentation was my new heartbeat. As I packed the binder, Barley thumped his tail, ready to escort a truth through doors usually reserved for arguments and decisions. We parked under pecans by the courthouse. Zadie squeezed my shoulder. Smart revenge, little brother, she said. Not loud. Lasting. Inside, varnish and consequence smelled the same. We took our seats. The clerk called the case, and Gunnar was led in wearing county beige stubbornness. Judge Quince studied the file like it owed clarity. Gentry testified clean. Knife, trespass, clubhouse breach. Talus described policies and fear. Aurora explained new complaint forms, voice steady as a lighthouse. Karen sat behind Gunnar, hands braided tight, pride leaking like a tire with a slow nail. My turn. I'm not seeking vengeance, I said. I'm setting boundaries. I asked for supervised community hours with Mr. Kleist, a de-escalation course, restitution for property damage, a 2-year no-contact order, and a public apology at the next HOA meeting. My voice stayed simple on purpose. Gunnar's attorney, suit shiny with shortcuts, scoffed. The FBI agent wants mercy? He sneered. Accountability, I corrected. Mercy without truth rots. Judge Quince tapped her pen. Motion granted, she ruled. The gavel's sound felt like a door closing gently instead of slamming. Karen exhaled a stutter. In the hallway, Karen approached carefully. He'll fight the apology, she said, voice small. Growth hates first drafts, I replied. Help him write this one. Zadie texted from the parking lot. Barley wants victory fries. I smiled despite the ring of fluorescent lights and old sorrow. That evening, the clubhouse filled. Neighbors brought folding chairs and cautious hope. Gunnar read his apology, words scraping gravel, then landing truer than expected. I wanted power, he said, so I tried to take something living. Silence held him. Sometimes silence is surgery when applause would be bandages. Karen stepped next. Clipboard gone. Cake forgotten. I confused control with community, she said. I weaponized rules because I was scared. She looked at me, finally seeing a neighbor, not a threat. I'm sorry. No fireworks. Just honest light. A murmur of acceptance moved like breeze. Talus posted the new policy QR code next to the snack table. Aurora stacked pamphlets about rights. Soren Nell volunteered to run a resident liaison hotline. Mrs. Valdez's toddler fed barley crumbs with careful fingers. The dog accepted each offering like Grace had 4 legs. After cleanup, Gentry shook my hand. Policy beats panic, he said. Good work. Outside, streetlights painted Aldrich Bend soft. Zadie bumped my shoulder. You rewired the block, she teased. Not bad for a kid from Tallahatchie Ridge. We walked home, tired in the good way. On my porch, an envelope waited, no stamp, handwriting neat. Thank you for staying, signed Wren Court. I filed it with evidence because kindness counts. The porch light clicked on by habit, not fear. Then my phone buzzed with an alert from the clubhouse camera. Motion, after hours, again. I opened the feed. A figure hovered near the supply door, smaller than Gunnar, quicker. The red eye caught gloved hands prying at a keypad. I called Gentry. Different intruder, I said. Possibly after the registry backups. He answered, units inbound. Zadie grabbed keys. Barley lifted his head. We reached 44 Aldrich Bend in 4 minutes. Patrol lights feathered the lot. The figure bolted toward the drainage culvert along Quail Spur. I cut left, Gentry cut right, training drawing lines on asphalt. Zadie stayed by the car, camera rolling, voice steady as a metronome again. I blocked the culvert exit. The figure froze. A hood slipped back. Lyle, the meter tech, Karen's friend. In his pocket, a thumb drive labeled pets / under a backup. Greed made him sloppy. I sell lists, he blurted, panic quick. Purebred bounties online. Easy money. My stomach dropped to hard stone. Gentry cuffed him. Charge expands, he said, voice tight. This wasn't about hate alone. It was profit. Lyle sagged, excuses spilling like beads off broken string. Nobody gets hurt, he claimed. I thought of Barley's Yelp, my mailbox, my sister's eyes. People always get hurt, I answered. At the station, I wrote statements until ink felt heavy. We looped ASAC Kates, who looped an animal theft task force. Bigger net. Wider water. Suddenly Bramble Oaks looked like a map in a room with pins and twine. The story grew teeth I hadn't counted yet. Morning came with headlines on the Halcyon Ledger site. Suburban pet theft ring suspected. HOA breach aiding targets. Tallis called, voice shaking between fury and relief. We'll host a safety clinic, he said. Microchip checks, gate fixes, neighbors watching neighbors. Zadie volunteered snacks. Mrs. Valdez offered folding tables. That night, Karen stood on my porch again. No props. I didn't know, she said. I thought control kept us safe. She looked crushed and smaller. Ignorance isn't innocence, I replied, gentler than the words. Help fix the harm. She nodded. Yes. Her voice meant it this time. We built a plan. Mediation circle, restitution pathway, volunteer roster for elderly pet walks, and a ban on releasing any animal records without verified, dual-signature approval. Aurora would train document custodians. Soren would manage the hotline. Gentry would stop by, not only when lights spun. After the meeting, I sat on my steps with Barley, his head heavy on my knee. Too bad I'm the FBI, I whispered, smiling tired. Or maybe lucky. Fireflies practiced their quiet light. My phone buzzed again. ASAC Kates, press conference tomorrow. You in? I typed, yes. The press line formed outside the clubhouse. Cameras blinked. Neighbors clustered with coffee. I stepped to the microphones, speaking simple. This started with a dog and a lie. It widened to profit and a breach. It ends with community and policy. Barley sat behind the line like staff. Reporters asked fast questions. Agent Wynne, are you a victim? No, I said. I'm a neighbor with training. Gentry detailed charges. Tallis announced reforms. Aurora held up a sample complaint form like a new passport. Mrs. Valdez translated key points in Spanish for elders nodding grateful. A final question cut deepest. Karen Ann, a reporter asked. Why call police? Karen stood by her own microphone. Because I was scared, she said, voice bare. I confused order with control and power with safety. She faced me. I'm sorry. Accountability traveled farther than any headline. After we ran the safety clinic, we scanned chips, updated contacts, reinforced latches, handed out QR tags. Lyle's arrest led to 2 more names, which led to a storage locker on Pimento Drive. Inside, stolen collars, lists, carrier cages. The ledger included Kestrel Trace, Golden Retriever. I read the line twice, pressed my tongue to the roof of my mouth until anger passed like thunder. We logged evidence, kept dogs calm, called owners. Zadie cracked jokes until tears slowed. Community isn't soft. It's steel wrapped in blankets. We worked until the sun dropped. Evening brought laughter on lawns and chalk drawings returning to sidewalks. Gunnar stacked chairs beside Kleist, listening more than talking. Karen passed cookies that tasted like humility, not sugar. Aurora rang a tiny bell, closing the day with a gentle sound that said we earned rest. On my porch, Zadie handed me a sealed envelope. Field office pouch, she said. Inside, a commendation letter for restraint, clarity, and neighborhood impact. I pinned it beside Mom's photo, she holding our first mutt outside a building that once said "No Pets." The sign changed in me. Barley pawed the letter, then flopped with a sigh. I clipped his leash and walked the block. Stars tried their best above Aldrich Bend. Neighbors waved. The world wasn't fixed. It was better. My phone buzzed. Court reminds, apology reading, tomorrow, 7 p.m., 44 Aldrich Bend. I whispered to Barley. Hook tomorrow is happier. He sneezed, agreeing. Across the street, a black SUV slowed, then sped up. Old habits die slow. I noted the plate out loud, trained brain cataloging calmly. Then my doorbell app pinged. Motion at my backyard gate, after midnight. I opened the feed. A gloved hand slipped through slats, testing, learning. Backyard, I told Zadie. We moved quiet. The figure hopped down, sprinted toward the alley where garbage trucks nap. I cut left. Zadie cut right. Barley stayed inside, door latched, safety over heroics tonight. The figure tripped on the alley lip, face planting into the dark. I reached first. He rolled, swinging a screwdriver. I dodged, pinned wrists and spoke low. Stop. His breath smelled like energy drinks and worse choices. He quit fighting. The porch light across the alley flicked on. It was the courier from 2 meetings back, the one who delivered the legal notice. His pockets held blank HOA citation slips, printed dog of concern, no codes. He mumbled, side hustle. Side hustles become side prisons. I cuffed him with nylon ties and called Gentry again. Under station lights, he confessed to selling fake citations online and reselling pet data harvested by Lyle. He admitted a buyer wanted the golden retriever on Kestrel Trace. The ring's last stubborn tooth loosened. We passed it to the task force. The map on the wall sighed. Next evening, Gunnar stood at the mic in a clean shirt. I thought taking would make me strong, he read, voice catching. I was wrong. I am sorry. He looked at Barley, then at me. Shame and a new courage shared his shoulders, uneasy roommates trying to cooperate. I stepped forward with a leash and a grin. Statement accepted, I said. With conditions already set. Laughter warmed the room. Aurora rang the bell. Karen spoke last. We'll host a mediation circle monthly, she promised. Starting with me listening. People clapped like hands found new uses. Outside, sunset painted Aldrich Bend copper. Kids chalked, sunshine dog, across the sidewalk. Barley rolled, thrilled with fame and dust. Zadie leaned on the rail. Too bad you're the FBI, she teased. You made revenge look like civic homework. I laughed, answer ready at last. Smart revenge is making your enemy sign the policy, I said. And bake the snacks. We watched Karen hand out lemonade without instructing anyone where to stand. It looked weird on her at first. Then it looked right. Change always wears a borrowed coat before tailoring. A breeze lifted the new newsletter stacked on the table. Resident Rights and Responsibilities, with Barley's photo labeled Community Canine. I tucked one under my arm and headed home with Zadie. The porch lamp glowed for welcome. Not worry. Still, the doorbell pinged. One last notification. The app showed a package on my stoop. No return address, handwriting familiar. I opened it carefully. Inside, the rock from my shattered mailbox. Cleaned, wrapped, and labeled, I'm learning. No signature. I set it beside the binder. Some receipts are heavier than paper, and kinder. A month later, 119 Kestrel Trace breathed easier. The binder moved to the bottom shelf. The complaint portal worked. Bodycam coordination made calls boring again. The best kind. Lyle pled out. The courier flipped. The ring folded. Karen chaired the mediation circle and passed the mic. Not orders. We held a block gathering under string lights draped between live oaks. Kleist told stories. Aurora taught kids how to fill forms that protect, not punish. Soren grilled. Mrs. Valdez translated, painting everyone into the picture. Gunnar stacked chairs without being asked. Small miracles paid cash. Azak Cates dropped by, shook my hand, scratched Barley's ears and said, "Nicely done, Agent Wynne." Pride warmed my collar like summer. I looked around at people who acted like neighbors again. "We did it," I said, meaning me and them and the dog wearing a bandana. I took the mic for a last word. "Rules without fairness are cages," I said. "Community without courage is gossip." I lifted Barley's leash. This is the only thing anyone tried to take from me. They couldn't, because we held it together. Applause felt like home. Karen approached, eyes clear. "I can't undo harm," she said, "but I can keep learning." She handed me a spare key to the clubhouse. Signed, countersigned, logged. Checks and balances tasted sweet. "See you at Circle," I answered. She nodded, then laughed at herself. A better habit. Zadie whispered, "You gonna ever take a vacation?" I pointed at Barley rolling in chalk dust. Children chanting, "Sunshine Dog." "Already did," I said. She bumped my shoulder. "Too bad you're the FBI," she teased again. "You turned vengeance into policy and potlucks." I bowed, accepting. When the lights dimmed, I pinned the commendation beside Mom's photo, her smile approving from another time. The rock labeled "I'm learning" held down the newsletter so breezes didn't steal it. The porch smelled like citronella and victory. The quiet kind you don't brag about, just keep. I unclipped Barley's leash. He stayed anyway, choosing me, choosing here. That was the ending I needed. Not a chase, not a siren, but a dog who finally relaxed in a neighborhood that earned his trust. We went inside. The door shut softly, promising ordinary nights ahead. My phone buzzed one last time. Case closed. Cates texted. I typed back, "Yes." Then added, "Community open." Outside, cicadas stitched the dark with sound that meant nothing and everything. Inside, Barley snored. Tomorrow would bring trash day and meetings, not emergencies. Smart revenge completed its paperwork.